Good evening, everyone. This is Vera Sadler with Tuesday Talk Live, your host of the program with VLS Coaching, and we're here for another exciting episode. And I am so glad that I have my guest here with me tonight. And as always, I am trying to get myself situated here for a moment, but I am glad that I'm here to talk again about this topic we've been talking about all month long. You know, I know that it's been a good topic because I've gotten a lot of feedback. I've had people communicating with me, have people hit me up and say, hey, don't stop talking about it, because we've been talking about when the holidays aren't happy. And so I love if you are in the room, if you're listening live, if you come back later, and this has been a topic that has really been of some interest and important to you, please hit us up. Please DM me. Please, message my guests if they have put their information out there, because we want to make sure that we're hitting the key points that are interest to you. So tonight, to follow up for part 3 of When the Holidays Aren't Happy, I have my exciting guest with me that I'm going to welcome to Tuesday Talk Live, which is Louis and Felicia Dilbert. And I'm going to let them introduce themselves, and then we're going to jump right into a conversation tonight because they have a lot to share about grief themselves. Lots of times we could talk about it, but when you've lived it, you've experienced it, and you're walking through it, I love for people to come and say what this means to them. So I don't know what to call you, minister, just sister, brother, but they're brothers and sisters in the Lord. I met them. Look at that smile. And when you link up with people in the spirit, you know that you're supposed to be there. You know you're supposed to talk to them. But Felicia and Louis, will you introduce to yourselves, to our guests, tell them where you hail from, and we're just going to jump in and have a conversation tonight that we know are going to bless somebody.
Absolutely. Good evening, everyone. My name is Louis Dilbert, originally from Miami, Florida, but been here in Tallahassee for about 25 years. Married to this beautiful woman for almost 12 years now. And so, we've been traversing this way. I currently am employed at Florida University as the Director of Military and Veteran Affairs and the TRIO Education Opportunity Center. I also am the President and CEO of the Dilbert Company, which is an educational advocacy and leadership strategy group. And so we're just blessed to be able to share with you all today.
Absolutely. I'm so grateful for the opportunity, Vera. I'm glad to be here. I am Felicia Dilbert, the founder of Beautiful Healing and the author of the best-selling book, Beautiful Healing, Volume 1, 7 Love Letters for the Truth Seeker Soul. The book debuted at number 1 in 2 categories on Amazon in 2020. And like my husband, I have experienced a lot of triumphs in life, and then there's been loss. And so this topic is near and dear to me because I know what gifts can come from grief. Mm-hmm. And I want to share that with other people. And I never would have known that before, prior to experiencing what I've experienced. And so we're shaped by our experiences, and we're grateful to be able to give back in generosity and share what we've learned and be the help that we have received, support that people have provided over the years, and God led folk, and we want to give back.
And I'm so excited that you said that.
Speaking of, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. I'm going to go ahead and share. I'm going to share with the group. When the Holidays Hurt, we created this group, and we've got about 300 members in there right now, and people that are.
And what's the link to the group? Because I'm going to post that here so everybody can see it.
Absolutely. It's at Grief Support When the Holidays Hurt. And I wanted to make sure that they could see it, so I shared it with them real quick. And Vera, that came about.
I have written this right, but you can correct me if it's not showing correctly.
Okay. Let's see, at Grief Support. Okay, so it's at Grief Support, and then did something pop up? Okay, so it's at Grief Support, then colon, When the Holidays Hurt.
Okay, I'll put a colon in there because we want to make sure people have the information they need to connect and get the information and the support they need. That's one of the main purposes of the show, is not just to share, but also make sure people have the information they need. Make sure that people can connect with us. After we do all this great sharing and we do all this great talking, if people can't connect and get the support, My sister and I were talking today about the mental health needs
Mhm.
and how we really need to, as a nation, go back to addressing the mental health and the support that people need. And there's so much happening, so much chaos, so many
Right.
issues and concerns that we really need to support the needs of the people. And we're going to put this back up
Mhm.
here after a while, and we're going to put your book up here. We want to make sure people know how to get that, and that they can reach out and get the information that they need. You said something, Felicia, that I think is going to be a springboard to
Okay.
our conversation tonight. One of the things I want you guys to talk about, some of the grief that you've had to process through, because a lot of people don't realize grief, it doesn't come, we were talking about this before, it just doesn't come linear. You have to process through it. There are different phases, but there is actual various types of grief people go through. And I know you have gone through different things, and Lewis has walked by your side through it. And so, Mr. Lewis, I'm so glad you're here because you can speak to it from a person who's been there to walk by her side with it. And so just share a little bit of your story, and then I want you to talk about what has it's been a gift. You said something that I've had another guest on this show that has made that comment too.
Mhm.
So that is an amazing thing to me when you can say that you've learned and grief has been almost like a gift to you. But tell us a little bit about your grief story.
Yeah,
Or
absolutely. Yeah. So, um, you know, I love how you said that, my grief story, because no matter what, no matter who knows me, who's related to me, all the things, no one knows my journey and my story, right? And same with Lewis. And so a number of different things have occurred in my life. And grief really was something that I became acquainted with in my early 20s when I started just having different symptoms that I wasn't really sure what they were,
Mhm,
feeling down often. Even as I was growing up, I always kind of had a bent towards sadness, a little bit of a gloominess.
mhm,
Wasn't any particular thing going on, but that was just kind of my disposition. And so
mhm,
as the years went by, I didn't have a very strong social circle. I would sort of begin to make friends, and then I would feel like what I now know is called social anxiety. Didn't know what that was called at the time. And then as I um, matriculated through college, and then as a young adult began to have those different feelings again, they continued, and they got worse over time. So I later learned about anxiety and depression, and that's a condition, and it's real, and it's not just something that I was just having in my mind or whatnot. And so I really look back over how that there was that lingering grief of, I wonder if I'll be able to keep this friendship. I wonder if I'll be able to
mm,
nurture this friendship. I wonder if they'll understand that sometimes I may not feel good. I don't know why I don't feel good. What is this? So these different things would come up. And my mom, Phyllis Marie Williams, who is now with the Lord, who fought a strong battle of lung cancer, went home to be with the Lord April 25th, 2017. She was my bestie, my rock, my twin, all of the things. And had it not been for her, I would not have known how special that I was and
wow.
and and am, because she understood. And a mother's love, she understood enough to be able to let me know that I was special and I wasn't broken, but something was up, and one day I would figure that thing out. And one of the things that she made me promise her before she passed away was that I would continue to pursue my healing. When my mother was
Yes.
ill, I was also dealing with symptoms that I didn't know what they were. Learned the day before her funeral that it was diabetes too, and my A1C was knocking on 14, and that's coma level. And I wrote about that in the book. That's one of the reasons I wrote the book, because during that time I found myself really reckoning with God, because my mom was my everything. And so,
Mhm,
as you know, Vera, grief shows up in different ways,
yes.
it masquerades in different ways. So I couldn't be there for her the way I would have imagined I would when my mom got sick. I would have thought I could be, I would be the one rushing in with my cape, and I would, just as she saved the day for me all throughout my life. And that wasn't the case. And
Mhm,
I have talked to my therapist about that. I even talked to my mom when she was in her last days about, because I wasn't feeling well and I couldn't get out of the bed some days and I had this awful headache. And I went to the doctor in February of 2017 and had blood work done, all of that. And he said, we don't see anything, but I am going to make an appointment with you for with a endocrinologist. The only appointment they had available was May 2nd. This was in February 2017. By the time May 2nd arrived, my mom had passed away on April 25th, and the funeral was on May 3rd. And so I meet this nurse, and she tells me, I can't tell you not to go to your mom's funeral, but you need to be in the hospital. So it was a divine appointment because she had lost her mother, and she could be there with me, hold me, help me. And I got through that day, and I wanted to be there. I wanted to be at my mom's funeral. I've been graced with the strength to stand up before the crowd at both of my parents' funeral, to see the people that showed up. That's supernatural stuff there, Vera, because I ain't had no business being able to do that with the A1C as high as it was. But that was the honor that God strengthened me to be able to witness. And so I say all of that to say, soon after I left the funeral, I went to the hospital. Lewis took me and began a new journey of healing and navigating diabetes 2, which is a chronic illness. And so it's been a myriad of different things. And the long suffering that I have experienced has come to a different type of it's like a transformation has happened. Vera, I wouldn't have been able to talk to you this fluidly and clearly. Lewis can remember the day when I would have even struggled to keep this time because of some friction and some things, but God is able. And grief shows up. It can show up at any given moment in the day, knock you off, all of it. But to be able to do the work of the Lord and what he's created me to do, despite it all, is a blessing.
Yes. And before I have Lewis respond to how he helped manage and navigate through that, I want to comment on a few things you said. One was when I'm listening to your story, right? I'm hearing not just the anticipatory grief, because mom is sick. So you're already grieving the possibility of her loss, the anticipatory grief before it. But then a part of you, because you just said your mom was your everything. So not only is it anticipatory grief, but you're already grieving a loss because you don't have that relationship that you have before. So I think people sometimes don't realize, you said grief shows up in so many ways. And sometimes we don't even understand that we can already not just be in anticipatory grief, but we can already be grieving a loss because we've already lost a part of something. You already lost that activity with that best friend, that person that you were with. So there's so many things already happening. And then you're grieving also the loss of your own personal activity, physical healing, physical health, when that's also a grief. And sometimes we pass that off as if we don't grieve the loss of our physical health. That's a whole nother spectrum. So you were mentally and emotionally like bombarded with a whole, like your basket was being filled up really, really quick with a whole lot of different things to navigate. And, I wanted to bring that out and bring it to the forefront. And because sometimes when we have these conversations, we understand it, but those listening may not be able to grab it. And I want them to grab, in case someone is going through what you were going through, and say, hey, that was me. Hey, that is me. Wow, this is what's happening, because you're not alone. Those out there who are listening, you're not alone. We have gone through these things. And that's why we're having this conversation, because we want you to understand you're not strange. You're not crazy. This is the things that happen to us in everyday life. It doesn't mean God loves you less. God is the one who's allowing us to have this forum and this conversation and say, there is a way that God will bring you out and that you can navigate through it. But I wanted people to see, you can have a mirror a myriad of different types of grief dumped on you all at one time and have to navigate. So you had, sister, you had a lot. You had loss of mom, anticipatory, I mean, loss of activity, and hey, this is my ace cum boom.
Yeah. And the thing that still, like, even just a few minutes before we got on, my mother was the first person, and I'm not knocking anybody in my family, but Phyllis Marie Williams was the first person I knew of to understand what beauty meant, to understand what any of it all meant. A mother and daughter relationship is really a unique one. And I'm just so grateful that it was so full of unconditional love. And what I
Yes.
have to reckon with, Vera, is acknowledging and knowing all those years what mom and I knew. And I hold that close to my heart because life is so difficult without her. And it's like, my God, Lord. But I know that he's sovereign. And that's what I remind myself of. And I look back throughout the years and the nooks and crannies of life and the way mama would love on me in the car ride home and us talking about what she gonna get from Piggly Wiggly or what she gonna cook or and me should have been writing down recipes, but talking about my day and all of it. And she always just showed she loved her children and loved being a mom, but loved being a wife, and just a special woman of God. And so this is the first person that understood me. So then here I am now, all these years later, because in 2017 when she passed, it feels like it was just yesterday, but it's been since then. And having walked this journey of there's something so special to connect with someone and to develop friendship. And when that is something that is not like, it's easy for me to talk about grief and ADHD and being a death doula and some of these things that comes easier. It's the other subtle things that someone may say, oh, it's so easy to go have a conversation. Sometimes that's difficult, and that was never hard with mom. She already knew. We didn't even have to say words, so that has been really, really, really tough. But another grief is I have ADHD. And for a long time, I didn't know what that was. I'm very creative, very, very creative. I can have a deep connection with a stranger, and I have a very strong gifting in knowing. It's a spiritual, supernatural gift. And so I can connect with people right away. They're telling me their deepest things that they've gone through. It happens often. And that's what spurred me to get training in professional life coaching, to learn how to navigate, how to work through and connect with these people, and then how to disconnect so that it doesn't all come home with me. But with that being said, over the years, every time I would get a new job, and I'm keeping it real transparent with you, Vera, I was always concerned about what would happen around the third month, because I have ADHD, and I know, and I put this in the book too, I know that executive functioning, but if you have ADHD, you may have a really tough time being on time, being organized, doing the things that are valued in a professional workspace. And I always got concerned because I prayed and I hoped it wouldn't be like it had been. And what ended up happening is, hey, we need to have a talk with you, Felicia. You're late, you're doing this, you're doing that. And I have realized God made me the way he made me for a reason. I do well as an entrepreneur. I've, up until now, this year, have embraced that that's how he made me. And if I need to go get some sunshine for an hour and a half at 2:00 in the afternoon, I need to be able to go do that for my system and my health and the way he made me. And that's not going to happen on a 9 to 5. And I'm okay with that now. But there's a grief when your friends are doing well. They've been at their job for 15 years. They doing all this. They rising to the top. And when I didn't know how much Christ loved me and that he made me from his own image. Not even the most beautiful water in the world is made in the image of Christ. His children are made in his image. And when I got to really know that, one of the gifts of grief, I always say grief bears gifts. And one of the things is when I've been heartbroken these different times, when I've been heartbroken in the thick of what am I going to do, I don't fit in a 9 to 5. Having to face that brings about a lot of tears and shame sometimes when you don't know how many talents and gifts God has given you and equipped you with that are for you to impart into the world and to be that public speaker that you've always dreamed of being, and to having the confidence to work with people and offer life support for them as they gather their thoughts and they find their way, not really like knowing that could be true for me, but seeing other coaches, seeing other speakers, watching them from the sidelines ever since I was little, Joyce Meyer, Beth Moore, Juanita Bynum, not knowing that could be real for me because of the lack of self-esteem and just the way that this world, what do they call it? There's the opposite of ADHD, so like normal, I guess.
But are any of us really normal?
No, there's a word for it, but anyway, neurotypical, I believe, but being in a world like that and you're different and you know what, guess what? I'm not the only one with ADHD. I know a ton of people right now are like, oh my God, me too. So the gift though, is that this one right here, this man is the second person that knows me and understands me more than anyone else. And so what a gift from God. I just got through crying about that when I opened up my Bible, my Promises Bible, because we prayed together before we came on, but because he gets it, he's always gotten it. And he was the second person that I told about Beautiful Healing years ago, way before I had it trademarked. God knows always. So that's where I find hope, Vera, in my continuing to live my life, because my mother wanted me to live. My father would want me to live. And I thank God Almighty for being able to articulate and being free from the bondage of illness and all of these things, because my voice was buried alive and I didn't even know it. And
so with Lewis being the one that gets you and understands you, Lewis, I want you to hop in and tell me what it's been like from your side of it. Share something from your side, from watching from the sidelines, or not even from the sidelines, but from by her side, and as a grief supporter. Yeah. Because some people need to understand what it means to support someone who goes through grief.
Right. Exactly. And and this is why, God is faithful, because there, when someone's grieving, there's the person who's there to support them, who may also be grieving as well. Now, I've been so blessed in my life, and thank God that I have not had to really experience that heartache of grief, that people lose sleep, that they don't get an appetite. I've experienced it through her, but I'm blessed. My parents my dad's 90, and my mom's 76. They're the matriarch and patriarch of our family. Never had more than a sibling. But life goes on. And so one day that will happen, right? And but in the meantime, I have been blessed that, I have not had to have that deep sense of grief in the sense of death. Now, there's been job loss, there's been opportunity loss, there's been financial loss. There are other things, we didn't have, the traditional wedding that we may have initially desired. That's a form of grief sometimes. When you think about it, me as a man wanted to give her everything that she desires and not being able to do that at the beginning, sometimes can eat at you, and so it may not have been like something that kept me up at night, but at the same time, it was a form of grieving, because I wanted to do more then, and you have things laid out a certain way, right? You gotta be married for certain years. You gotta start having children. You gotta do this. You gotta elevate your job. We give God all of our plans. Say this is what's gonna happen, Lord. This is the type of person I'm going to marry. And he says, okay, I'm going to give you what you need, sir. Okay.
Oh, thank you, Lord.
He said, give her what she needs. And we fight against that. We fight, no. You know what I'm saying? I want what I want, right? And so, our journey is not a typical journey. Okay. It's not, laced with roses all the way down from the beginning to now. It's a beautiful love story, but grief has had a major part of that. And as a person, listen, anybody tell you, I love to laugh, I love to joke. I'll joke at a funeral, okay? And but but not in that way. Sometimes people tell jokes at funerals, not in a disrespectful way. But
right.
mood. I'm a light guy, right? And so grieving for me, I'm like, I've learned that you gotta do it. You gotta go through it. You gotta walk through it. And to have, your wife, experience it in such an immense way, it's heartbreaking. Because as a man, guess what you want to do? You want to fix it. You want to fix it every time. And I had to learn through reading and things, I can't fix it. I can't fix everything. I got to just sit there and just sit. I may have something to do, okay? But I have to say, hold on. I have to make an adjustment, change something in my schedule. This is what's important right now. You have to sit with it. And I think where many marriages suffer is where the one person says, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to have to deal with that. And I can't tell you 100% I never said that. You know what I'm saying? But in the end of the day, I had to be here for her because that was the way for her to heal. And listen, a lot of people put stuff out there for show. I'm serious. This is not for show. This is, I've had to adjust my life in different ways that are not always comfortable, right? For the sake of loving her and us growing together through this. And it has not been easy because we all have aspirations. I recently ran for office, public office. Imagine that, you know what I'm saying? That's the new thing. I'm an extrovert. She's an introvert. And so we've had to balance that. And so, balance all those things. And then I'll talk about navigate these moments. I loved her mom. She was a great mother-in-law. She didn't stay in our business. She was sweet and kind, and gentle, And my father-in-law, we built a relationship together that is almost even stronger than the relationship I have with my own father, right? And I can feel like I could talk to him about certain things as a man, and his advice is always funny and interesting at times, but at the same time, I would be able to receive that because a man was sitting there and talking to me and pouring into me in a way that I had not been poured into before, and so his passing I took more personally than her mom's in a sense because we had been his caretakers for a year and a half, and we had been there intimately with him day in and day out. And so we have been blessed through the grief of having moments to be able to share and to just really just sit and be, because we live in this high-paced world where everybody's always on the move, and I'm one of the people. I got ADHD too, got diagnosed a couple years ago, and so I, sometimes you got to sit still. Still, even the Bible says that, be still and know that I'm God. And when we're fretting, when we're nervous, when we don't know what to expect, just be still.
Yeah.
Be still.
So I'm listening to you say about be still, about God giving us what we need, about just processing through that we have to do this. And one of the things that I put up there, I wanted the guests to see that you said marriages fail when someone decides they don't want to deal with it, and putting all processing that all through my mind. And I'm thinking about our trust factor, our hope factor, where all of it lies, and being still and listening. If you're not still, you can't listen. If you're moving too much, and for you both to say you have ADHD, it must have took a lot out of you to hear, and to work. But God bless you, because you must have been willing to do the work to get where you needed to be. One, with God, and two, then with each other to make this work. You know, it didn't happen by osmosis. Oh, we're just going to hope. And both of you have said something that is so much need, that you have to do the work. Brother Lewis, you were just saying how you can't, you have to process the grief. Sometimes we think if we don't think about it, we just leave it there. It's not going to happen. It's kind of like, Felicia, you were talking about your A1C and your numbers. If you don't treat it, if you never went to the doctor to figure out, why is my body so off? Why am I feeling like this? What in the world is going on? You would have been in a diabetic coma or something. If we don't treat what's going on, and if we don't do something about it,
right,
it doesn't get better on its own.
So true. And for a while there, I thought, I'm bearing my mom's burden. I'm feeling, a wise woman told me that you're bearing the burden of the illness. You feel you're experiencing, and I bless her, and I get what she meant and everything, but I knew something else had to be wrong. But I'm gonna tell you something. If anybody's listening and you have someone that is very ill and you're on the lookout, you don't want to miss anything, you want to be there, you don't want to be, time is short. And if you're feeling sick, go to the hospital. I never thought to go to the hospital, Vera. I went to a doctor's appointment. I was dizzy half the time, and I was vomiting intermittently. And I really did think, okay, I'm buried. This is that anticipatory grief. This is that. And I wasn't over there a whole lot, as much as I would have liked to be there with my mom. But when I could be there, it was always, like depending upon it, because A1C can have your body all discombobulated, and diabetes too. And it just didn't make any sense. And so when I did get to the doctor and found that out, I'm like, and I did. I had my words with God, because I'm like, well, if the doctor would have knew that in February, I would have had sometimes maybe they have healed up some to be able to be there with her. And how in the world, Lord, did this not get caught in February? It was the same blood work, Vera, from February that the lady checked in May.
Yeah, because it doesn't just creep up. What people don't know, it just doesn't creep up.
Right. If you don't feel good, it's not just a random headache. It's not just, doctors are not evil. God made doctors,
and they just don't always know either. Your body.
This is true, and you have to investigate. And I learned how to advocate for myself. And grief will creep up on you. I mean, my dad and I used to play this game with Name That Song. And so wherever we would be, sometimes music will come on, and he taught me a lot about music and how to really love music. And the last song we were able to do that with was Chris Stapleton's song. What's the name of that song? Remember? Chris Stapleton? I can't remember it. But anyway.
Stapleton song, girl, it's old.
I can't remember. Right. I think it's Stapleton. That was the man's last name. But anyway, it's on the tip of my tongue. But anyway, that was our last one. And so you better believe when I hear that song, I'm having a moment, and I'm thinking about where we were, and I remember. You remember? Whiskey? It's Tennessee whiskey.
Yeah.
Tennessee whiskey.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Look, someone just typed it up. Tennessee whiskey is a popular one. One of our listeners typed that up.
That's it.
So I want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Because I want my listeners to grab this. And either one of you can answer. So I know people are saying, okay, you guys are talking about grief again. What does it have to do about when the holidays hurt? Because I want to bring this in so people can understand why we're talking about this during this season. Why are we talking about this now? Why are we talking about this during when it's supposed to be ho, 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 Merry Christmas, Why are we talking about this during the time we're supposed to be celebrating Jesus' birth? Even though we know Jesus didn't come during December 25th. Why are we talking about this now? And for me, I know why. Because I know this is a time for many triggers for a lot of people. And what made me think about bringing this back home so people understand why we're talking about it now is because you did mention, hey, when I hear that song, it makes me think of my dad. So for some people, for you, that may bring, it kind of brought a smile to your face. But for some people, it's not going to be a smile.
And I would tell you before I answer, and you jump in, babe. Jump in if you forget to going too long. But one of the gifts, I tell you this, if I could tell anybody that still have their people and they're listening and their family, they got their people, tell them, find out how to tell them you love them on a regular basis. If you don't know how to say it, get a coach, get a counselor, get a therapist. But I am so grateful, Vera, that I wore my heart on my sleeve, and my mom and daddy knew I loved them. They heard those words. That carries me through a lot of my grief, because I know they knew I loved them, and I know that they loved. I know they loved me, and love never dies, according to Thessalonians. I believe that's right. I have to look and see exactly where it is. But I know for a fact that they loved me. So that helps, because when there's words left unsaid and all of this stuff that can just, but what do you have, babe? What do you
Well, I think I've learned to throw norms out the door during the holidays, and what I want the holidays to be, especially if you are with someone, and so I may want us for Thanksgiving to be around a bunch of family, and that might be what I want, but for her, or vice versa, she may say it may be the first anniversary for some of you all without your loved one. There is no obligation, and I'm just gonna speak this, and it may not be just in the minority community, but in our community, family, come on, you got to be around family. There's a lot of you got to be's, and people who are non-African American can experience this as well. I'm from my family is Hispanic. Family is gathering, you know what I'm saying? So, but your journey is your journey. And I wish more people would seek to understand, hey, this is why such and such may not want to come home this holiday. And it's not always centered around death. Something traumatic else could have happened. Some people are experiencing job loss during this holiday. And they literally can't afford to go anywhere, And for you to pressure them and push, oh, come on, this is what you got to do. Let people celebrate how they desire. We are there to be with people if they are grieving, to encourage them to have hope, and it's nothing wrong with giving somebody a gentle nudge to say, hey, do you have people that you love around you? Try to see if you can be around a positive environment instead of sitting at home with a glass of wine by yourself. That to me is not healthy, right? Yeah. But if you just want to be in a small, intimate setting, if you want to have Friendsgiving, if you want to have certain things that just speak to you, do that. If it's going to allow you to navigate and get to the holidays. There's plenty of holidays where it's just been me and Felicia, and that's fine, But there's a grief in me sometimes that I had to go through, because I was accustomed to the big celebrations, right? And then going and visit family or one of the holidays or whatever. And I had to say, you know what? Now that we are one, I don't, it's not all about me anymore. It's not all about me. And she's made sacrifices too to say, you know what? I'm not the most social person, but family is important. Let's go see family. Okay. And so again, it's never cookie cutter. It's not always perfect, but the holidays, God gave us Jesus Christ. So we are to give of ourselves to other people and sacrifice for others during the holidays. And sometimes that sacrifices our own personal comforts or whatnot.
That's true, and grace. And I just wanted to say that it was November 3rd. I checked the date, and it was a Sunday night. I sat down in my favorite chair, and I just felt the Holy Spirit say, when the holidays hurt. And so I wrote those words down, and then I kind of saw like a red like image. It ended up being a graphic, and I went to Canva and just went to doing, because that's another gift that grief has given me. I do not question when God talks, because when I was praying for guidance and for help to live this life.
Mhm.
Not that I didn't want to be here, but how do I breathe on without, I had to learn how to really get to know the Lord. I thought I knew the Lord before my mom passed, but my mother knew the Lord, and I would go to her and she would pray.
That's good.
And I had to get to know him for myself, because if this is the same God that my grandma Asibel, my nana, my mama pray to and know and love, this is the same Jesus. I need to know him like that, because my mama gone, you know, and she was always a liaison, you know, and that's so I had to get to know him. And I realized, okay, people, I don't second guess when God moves, because I prayed so much is what I'm getting at. And when he started talking to me and telling me about beautiful healing and writing this book, I was hungry for him. I needed help. Vera, so when he told me what the cover looked like, I sketched it out. So when he talks to me, I do exactly what he says, because there's the pride, that grief chomped up a lot of that pride. Well, I don't know if that's you, God. And I would have never even thought that was pride, but that's not you. Oh, that's just me dreaming up. No. It's the Holy Spirit. It's the Lord, you know? And I wrote it out, and it's on average, it's been about 40 people joining that group per week. It's hitting on 300, and it's not been available that long for all these people to join, or maybe a bunch of them joined in the beginning. I don't know, but that's how many people are in there. It started November 3rd. That's how many people are, and there's more that get it.
Yes.
Holidays are hurting. We put the lights up the other day, and we're a little bit late with that, you know, so we did that last week, a few days ago. and it didn't hit me until the next day, and I started feeling so much sadness. But I noticed the night before it kind of was like creeping in, and it was just this feeling of the people that shaped the holiday for me as a kid. You know, I don't know. I just started feeling the meaning and the belonging, and where's the lady fingers? This sweet little lady used to make delicious lady fingers cookies down the road, Miss Dean, rest in peace, and her daughter Joycey. And you know, that meant Christmas, you know, and the poinsettias and the little brooms, cinnamon brooms my grandma Ossie used to have, you know, and I just felt it, and I cried. And then I put
I'm feeling it a little bit now, because I'm thinking about some things.
Yeah, it's just,
I have to admit,
so real.
I'm thinking about some things that I've done in the past that I haven't done lately. If I'm being honest, you know, I was just sitting here and some things were crossing my mind, and one of my dear sisters are on the line, and she says, and the wonderful thing is that you, as you were talking, she said, and you were talking about trusting God and what God is saying. She said, and the wonderful thing is that he knows us. And it's so sweet to know that God knew, and he knew what he was telling you to do. He knew exactly when he was telling you to do when the holidays hurt. And it's so amazing. He told you that. He told me the same thing probably 2 weeks right after that. Then he connected us through a mutual friend that I never knew you know, mutual friend. And she said, hey, I can't come on the show, but I have somebody I want you to connect with. And lo and behold, I didn't know he had been speaking the same thing to you. And then when we connect, it was like we'd known each other forever.
Yes.
You guys are talking about something that I want to circle back to, because it was so important, I think. And I know I saw a couple of comments about this in the chat. I don't know if you can see the chat, you guys, if you have it up on your Facebook, but I have it on my Facebook and stuff. But there's a couple of comments in the chat, and it's so crucial. And Mr. Lewis, you were saying it, Lewis, Felicia, I think you both were hitting on this about how people, these expectations. You know, I was talking about this last week with when Pastor Keisha was on here. There's sometimes grief is caused by the expectations too. So one, you're already grieving. You already have all this going on. But I think it can be complicated. I don't know if anybody or any of our listeners has already heard of the term. And I know, Felicia, I know you know about it. Complicated grief. It's when you're already grieving, and then grief is piled upon grief. And so you lost your mother, you lost your father, you lost your mother. That's considered complicated grief when you haven't even processed through the grief you're already dealing with. But if you're already grieving, and now you have this expectation, I have to do, I have to be. Or for some people, it's the family. Lewis, you were talking about, you know, you have family members that expect you, or fathers and mothers trying to provide or prepare that expectation. That's complicated grief. And we need to be okay to say, I can't,
Mm.
but we're not.
Mhm.
And I heard you were talking about, for some of us, it's, we need that time to say, I need to pull away for a moment.
Mhm.
I need to back up for a moment. Because if we don't, our mental health, our emotional health, and not just mental health, emotional health, sometimes our spiritual health suffers.
Mhm.
Sometimes our relationships, more than likely, our relationships are going to suffer, because sooner or later, what's internal comes out, right?
Right.
And
Absolutely.
so
Right.
when we don't take this time to allow the process,
Mhm.
whether it's grieving, whether it's pulling away and letting God deal with us, or whether it's you're right, Pastor Harbison, no is a complete sentence.
Mhm.
Right.
To be able to say no,
Mhm.
no thank you, or even not now,
Mhm.
or I just can't at the moment.
Right.
And to self-care, we have been so, and this, you said it, maybe other cultures deal with it, but I think our people, our women,
Mhm.
Felicia, our women have had a real hard time understanding that self-care is self-love.
Right.
And God, it doesn't mean we're puffed up in pride when we decide. I have a book here that I am going through and I love it.
Mhm.
Self-care work, self-love workbook for a Black woman.
Oh, wow.
I love it. It's such a powerful book, but it talks about how we sometimes fail to care for us.
Yeah.
And part of that
Mhm.
is because we're going through so much that we have struggled to do that. And that's a grief even in itself. How do I love me?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So true. And growing up in the South, and I don't know about you, Vera, this may not even be a Southern thing, but that people pleasing stuff, that's kind of like in the air, in the water. So
Girl,
for you
I've
to,
had to get over that.
you know what I'm saying? And this is this at the sacrifice of the woman that she can't, how can she take a breath or sit down? How dare she? So much needs to, the woman's supposed to, and I mean that's throughout, that's tradition, unfortunately, and culture. And then you've got people that are talking about, I've heard someone recently talk about self-care. That's so selfish. Okay, ignorant, because how in the world are you going to be able to give if you don't have,
Exactly.
we have to educate ourselves, and we have to unlearn a lot of foolishness. And that's just what it really is. I mean, if that's why our women and our men are so sick, and running around. And what do you mean rest and relax? People used to running themselves. Not on my watch. We're breaking that.
Right.
Yes.
We living our lives, we're enjoying, we be able to be in the present. And we may struggle a little bit with the ADHD stuff, but we have learned to enjoy life. I'm telling you, this man right here, not afraid of therapy. He was right there with me, and learning the techniques and learning how to support me, and learning, okay, I have a wife that's dealing with different characteristics that maybe I never envisioned, but this is my wife. And during the
Praise God.
the campaign, listen, I'm an introvert, but I learned, and I stepped up, and I asked the Lord, and I even had to reckon with God. Am I holding him back, or am I failing him? And I felt the Lord say, no, I made you the way I made you, but you can trust in me some more, and I'll carry you through. I got you as you go and go out and interact, and I began to trust the Lord more, and then I began to feel emboldened and knowing that God was opening these doors for Lewis to walk through, but I want to be right by his side, and so we saw a strengthening in that.
And appreciate you, baby. Thank you for that. And I had to deal with, you often, when you're married, you often sometimes have those talking heads to say, your husband is supposed to be doing this. Your wife is supposed to be doing this. This is why you got to be careful who you share your business with.
Oh, come on.
Because if it's just you should be, it's like people put their expectation on your relationship. It's like, for example, when if someone passes away, where's the repast? Where's the repast? There's no repast. What if we said we don't want a repast? Or if somebody says they want to be cremated? Oh my goodness, why are they going to do that? We need to have I have family members like that. Like, no, you got to have a whole service, and what they want.
But what if I don't want it?
But I say this to say that this is the part that I don't know if we talk about enough. First of all, I do believe there's a degree of grief prevention in a sense of how we take care of ourselves, okay? How we live our lives, take care of our health, take care of our wellness, so that we're not leaving this earth earlier than God would anticipate us to, and granted, he has an expiration date on all of us. But we know people whose habits sometimes land too early, what I believe, early departure, and the family is left to pick up the pieces from a loved one who didn't really take care of themselves or lived a risky life or whatever the case may be, okay? That's a little bit of the grief prevention, even though we all have an expiration date. But there's also the grief preparation. $30 a month that you pay for life insurance, so that you can be able, so your family doesn't have to pass the plate and mourn twice because they don't know how to pay for your funeral expenses.
Oh, I love that you said mourn twice.
Did I tell young people that I advise on the college campus that yes, you are 22, 23, but you don't have any type of coverage. So if something happens to you, you already live in a high risk life. If something that happens to you, your family has to deal with that. And you know where you come from. Your people may not have the means. And so I think we have to really not be selfish enough to say, listen, we spend $20, $25 on a lot of things a month, okay? And I say that, and I talk about insurance lately because I've seen the go, nothing wrong with it, but I see the GoFundMe's, I see the different things, and it hurts because I'm like, gosh, this family's already grieving. Now they got to figure this out in a week.
Right.
Yes.
Maybe 2 weeks if you're lucky, and so remember, if you're listening, that look at your finances, get your affairs, have a will. You may not feel like I don't have enough assets, but it just is so sad when families are fighting over assets and over things. And I mean, think about what that does to your mindset, your psyche, your health, your wellness. Especially if you were like the person who has to manage all of that. It's your parents, it's it's your sibling, you're the estate holder, the estate planner or whatnot. And so I think that there's a degree of preparation that we need to have, even with job loss. Saving money if you can, doing certain things so that these things are not as heavy because you have a plan in place. That's why God gives us wisdom and he gives us resources, and we have to steward those resources as best as we can. And it's not always easy, but you can do it. And I think more people need to really look at, not say, well, I don't want to talk about it because that might bring it about. No, we're all gonna pass away. Right. Newsflash. Right. Unless the rapture come early. And so you got to take care of yourself and prepare. And I show her that I love her by making sure I have a plan in place, because that makes me emotional sometimes. Like if I go, she'll be by herself, but I'm not haughty enough to think that I'm the only resource that God has for her. He is her light. He is her resources. He will take care of her, and vice versa. God forbid, but we live our life to the fullest each day, so that we can be able to love people and support people and do what God has called us to do. And grief can complicate a lot of that. And sometimes grief can cause you to be like, I don't want to deal with anybody else but me and worry about me. And that's okay, but eventually we got to get back out there, because that's the hope part. You got to get it back out there. You got to live life. You got to go back to work. You got to take care of the kids. You got to you have to continue to move on as best as you can.
Yeah. I was just to piggyback off of that. I was just going to say that, I imagine a world, Vera, where people just as you're supposed to have your checkup every year, your annual, that there's some type of grief literacy. Taking a class, learning, even being comfortable with saying the word death, being comfortable with saying, instead of the opposite, oh, we're not, oh, we are, just learning about what grief means, anticipatory, and getting acquainted with it in a way where you even can tell in your everyday life where you're already dealing with it. I saw a graphic online that said, I asked anger what her middle name was, and it was grief. And, so we out here just wide open, or you encounter a person, you don't know what's up, and there's pain in there, and there's something going on, and that may look a certain way, but something may be going on within that. A couple steps back is some deep, deep, deep unresolved grief. And so I think that the hope that I have is that I know that I have a testimony of wondering how, knowing that I have fruit to be able to be a speaker, to use my voice again. And I studied that in college, and to see myself doing different things. And now I know that can happen, but there were many times those dreams were deferred, and I've gotten on the other side of it. And my heart hurts for anybody that's living in a shell and they don't know why they're stuck, or maybe they're missing this piece or missing that piece. Maybe there's something they haven't really like I had to truly face my energy levels go up and down. I have Hashimoto's. I need a certain kind of lifestyle throughout the day. I had to face it. I have limits. I can't do what maybe I used to do 20 years ago with the way that my body is made and all things. I had to face it. And once I was real with myself, I could then embrace, okay, well, what does it get to look like then? Well, a successful day gets to look like morning where I have most energy, and then go outside for a couple hours in the afternoon, and then come back and do some more work. But that may not fit into a 9 to 5. That's okay. What it gets to be a business. I get to write. I get to use my God-given gifts. And so I say that because somebody might be listening and wondering, am I broken? No, it just may not be. You may not have faced something truly and been able to accept, what if everything I think that is going to go wrong goes right? And if and the creator is who I had to really talk to about it, because he made me. So, I mean, what is going on? And if I'm made in the image of Christ, I'm not broken, and so that word of God is a keeper. I actually had written out a verse I wanted to share. It's a declaration from the Complete Personalized Promise Bible for Women. And it's derived from Deuteronomy 28:12, chapter 29, verse 9, and Joshua chapter 1:7, and Daniel chapter 1, verses 7.
Deuteronomy 28:12, you said?
Yeah, Deuteronomy 28:12, Deuteronomy 29:9, and Deuteronomy 31:7. And then Joshua chapter 1:7. And Daniel chapter 1:17-20.
Okay.
And it says, I am guarded with the strength of Almighty God. I walk in the power of his might and show myself to be his daughter. I walk in all of his ways and keep all of his statutes. His precepts and testimonies are forever on my lips. I am a child of discernment, sound judgment, and discretion. I am enlightened with supernatural ability to learn that ways are open to me, and I am bold, shrewd, and wise in all of the ways of life, and that I set my hand to, and everything that I set my hand to do, I am found to be successful and prosperous. And that's a declaration that helps me speak in life,
Praise God. Praise God. So I believe that the things that have been shared tonight really are helping individuals to see that it doesn't always have to be great, doesn't always have to be perfect. And Felicia, I think you summed it all up, even with that declaration. I'm going to have you read it just one more time.
Sure.
As we're closing out. But I'm ask Lewis if he has any final words before we close out, and then have you read that declaration again. But I do believe that our listeners have really understood that life doesn't have to be perfect. Life's going to have trials. Life is going to have circumstances and situations. Life is going to, there are going to be some bumps in the road and some mountains to climb, but through each and every one of those, you have to go to the Father so he can show you your path. He can show you what he has in store. again, I say, just like I said last week, and I keep telling individuals, I've been saying it on Instagram and pop-ups. What's stopping us, what's blocking us is, he says, I know the plans I have for you, plans of good and not evil, to bring you to an expected end. And we quote these verses, but do we really believe what the Father is saying to us? Do I believe in my whole heart that he has an expected end? He never said, nowhere in there did I read that he says, I know the plans that I have for you, that your life will be perfect. It will be without pain. It will be without sorrow. It will be, that's not what he said. He says, I know the plans I have for you.
Right.
Plans of good and not evil. And not evil doesn't mean that lives.
Mhm.
Yep.
Brother Lewis, you said it. All
Yeah.
of us have an expiration date, so things are going to happen. But where do we take those things?
Mhm.
Where do we carry them? Like you said, you got to carry them to the throne. You
Right.
got to carry them to the Father. You have to leave them there. You can't just carry them there and then carry them back.
Pick 'em
Here's
back
your
up.
bundle, carry 'em back. I got my bundle. I'm taking it back with me. So I just believe that individuals listening have learned that the way you coped with it, and the way your husband has helped you carry through it, and the way y'all have managed together, is becoming together too. There has to be a togetherness. We
Right.
can't be walking down this road and you're going in two different directions and expect you're going to meet in the middle, but that doesn't mean you stay there.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. Absolutely.
Right. And,
Yeah.
and,
So
I would
go
say
ahead,
that,
Brother Lewis.
thank you for the opportunity to connect with your audience, and to those who came on to listen today. It is a blessing for us to share, um, and there's power in patience.
Yes.
You know, there's power in patience with yourself, and there's power in patience if you are the person that is seeing someone else grieve. And we could just learn just a little bit of that, whether we are an employer, whether we are a spouse, whether we are a friend, a family member. Be patient with people. Be
Yeah.
kind.
Yeah.
And if you're the griever, be patient with yourself.
Yes.
I love that. I love that, because you know what just dropped in my spirit is, what you see may not be the whole story. So when you see a person walking through their life and you want to judge, or you want to cast your opinion, or you want to say, if you only knew the whole story,
Yes.
you wouldn't. Maybe you would say, oh, maybe you would want to pray for them. Maybe you'll be compelled to ask them something versus whatever it seems like, because we, many a times, human nature, wrong, and something I also wanted to say too is, sometimes grief will make you say, I don't feel like being bothered. I'm just doing me. I don't feel like being bothered. And I've been there, but I want to encourage you, if you need support, or if you're just like listening and you like what you hear, you don't have to have lost everybody or be actively grieving to want to be grief literate. Join the group at Grief Support when the holidays hurt. Get in community. If you're around people and you're like, I don't like these certain kind of people, maybe those aren't your people. Be around people, and so I read that declaration. Oh, but before I do, I wanted to mention that Vera Lewis and I have combined our talents and gifts, and we have created an offering that will be available starting next week. We're sharing this with your audience. If anyone is interested from your audience and they email us, let us know they heard about it from your show, they will get 10% off. But it's called New Hope, Healing Through the Holidays, Flourishing into the New Year. And we are thrilled to have taken the time to really think through what we've learned, how we've navigated our journey, and we're excited to give back through this offering.
And how can they email you?
It's hello@FeliciaDilberts.com.
Perfect.
They can email me there. Just say you heard about it on Vera Sadler's show.
hello@FeliciaDilbert.com, right? I'm going to add that. Audience, please take advantage when we have this opportunity to get discounted help. I mean, and I'm huge, Felicia, about investing in ourselves. Your husband was just saying it. We'll pay $25 here. If I go out and eat, I can't eat for less than $15. just for one person nowadays. We used to be able to take the few of us for 15, right? I can't eat for less than that. You can't get Starbucks for less than $10.
Listen.
Skip Starbucks for the month, guys, and or a couple of months, whatever it is. And if you want to get grief literate, because maybe you're not grieving, but maybe there's someone you need to help, or
Yeah.
maybe it's just the offering. Go email her and let her know that you heard about her offer here, the New Hope offering. I didn't put the whole title there, but
No
it's
problem.
New Hope offering. You can email her and they will give you the information you need and the help you need, the resources you need. Or you just want to connect with them on a deeper level. You want to connect, if you need to connect with them. If you want to connect with us here, and I'm going to have her close out with reading that. If you want to connect here, I have, with VLS coaching services, we have a program that's called Lift, Launch, and Lead. And it's also a program to help you learn, to grow, to lift you up from where you are, to launch you out to where you're supposed to be, and then to help you lead someone else there as well. See, God has given us the resources.
Amen.
He's made a way. You cannot just stay. If you stay stuck, it's because you want to be.
Right.
So you can be part of her New Hope program. You can be part of my Lift, Launch, and Lead program, because God has destiny in store for all of us. So you just need to get in where you fit in.
No, that is so true. And I'm so glad you said that, Vera, because, for a while there, I felt afraid. I'm not a mental health professional. I don't want someone to think that I'm trying to be something I'm not. I don't want people to think that and what the Lord emboldened me with is we don't profess to be anything that we're not.
I'm not a therapist.
Not a therapist, not a psychotherapist, have great referrals for you. But, that's not what this is. We're not masquerading as something that we're not. We love the Lord, and we recognize that there's opportunity out here, and gifts are there for a reason. Use your gift. You have gifts too. Don't hide your gifts. The world needs your gift.
Yep.
So I'll go ahead and read the declaration again. I am guarded with the strength of Almighty God. I walk in the power of his might and show myself to be his daughter. I walk in all of his ways and keep all of his statutes. His precepts and testimonies are forever on my lips. I am a child of discernment, sound judgment, and discretion. I am enlightened with supernatural ability to learn that ways are open to me, and I am bold, shrewd, and wise in all of the ways of life. And all that I set my hand to do, I am found to be successful and prosperous in the name of Jesus.
Thank you. How amazing. Again, guys, this has been Vera Sadler with VLS Coaching with Lewis and Felicia Dilbert, and I am so excited that you got to share with us tonight. Would love to have you come back again as you continue launching more things, and we can maybe dig into that book, Felicia. Yeah. One night you can come on and we can just talk about the book and all that, all the information in there. Mm-hmm. Again, guys, we will see you again next week on Tuesday Talk Live. Have a great night.